Okay, guys, let's get to the situation at hand. I want to start with something I just heard through the grapevine. I'm not sure if it's true yet, but there's been a COVID situation in the Celtics traveling party. I'm throwing that out there now. I just got off the phone on that. So I haven't seen anything. That could be a possibility. I'm just saying, right?
That would not be good. That would be good if it knocks. I don't know how many players. And again, it's not even anymore about not having it ever, right? Because you're seeing examples where guys have gotten it multiple times. So you look at, Jayson Tatum, we know he had it a year or so ago. Well, if he gets it, it was bad without Al Horford. It'd be really, really bad if Jayson Tatum or Jaylen Brown or one of those other guys does.
Well, I'll tell you that, Tatum is doubtful because he's in the protocol. So
Horford.
What did I say? Excuse me, Horford. I can't do two things at once. Okay, here we go. Just came out. Multiple backroom Celtic staff have tested positive for COVID. So stay tuned. Who knows what the hell happens? I mean, if too many players become involved, are they going to move the games? Bob?
I have no idea. All this for me, since I'm already in a minority among Celtic, so we say, boosters, in that it's house money for me, has been since the Nets series. Okay,
right.
So I'm in the whatever happens. I'm resigned to bad things happening. I'm not going to freak out if they got sabotaged by this anymore. How can you be surprised at anything we hear with regard to this?
Okay.
So, it's terrible. Of course it's terrible. I mean,
with 4 teams left, Gary's got a good point, right? Like if you've only got 4 teams, it'd be one thing if you're in the first round, all right, you're not going to stop for a player on a team or something like that. But now you're down to 4 teams. And if a team gets hit, do you just say, hey, listen, you know what? We're going to pause for a little bit. Or do you just say, hey, the bottom line is if we got a couple players getting hit now, we're probably going to have a couple more getting hit in a week. So let's just push through it.
I mean, if the world didn't revolve around television, you could think about postponements, but the world does revolve around television. It begins and ends with that in terms of scheduling. And so, they're going to want games. I think.
Windhorse is on this too from ESPN. So that's a developing situation. All we can do is that we've put it out there for the sense of our discussion.
No, right.
I think that there's a distinct possibility because you got 4 teams. And you mentioned television, Bob. The longer the series goes, the more there's interest in, you could delay. They've delayed the NBA finals before. I mean, listen, if this went into July.
NBA, in my experience, has always been willing to make it up as they go along and different ways, scheduling and realignment positions and all that. They've always been flexible in that regard. I mean, in the old days they were. So, I don't know. It's such a reminder that we're so far not out. We're just so much into this thing. It's not even close to being over. It may never be over in any of our lifetimes. We're just going to be living with this thing indefinitely. And I'm just getting resigned to that.
Well,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, listen, it certainly hurt the Celtics without, being without Al. Rob Williams was good, but again, the beauty of having both those guys is they give you a completely different look. And Al is just so fundamentally sound and what he brings to the court, even in terms of kind of keeping everybody even keel in a hostile environment. When that game flipped, you don't know how he would have been able to change the game. He might have been nothing, but certainly being without Al Horford, Smart and Lowry, I don't want to say are a wash because Lowry has not played well lately, but he's been hurt as well. Marcus Smart's certainly been the better player this year, but I think Al was certainly a huge omission, and they need him.
Al is a Udonis Haslem who actually plays.
Right.
I mean, so no, there's no question. But all right, let's get right to this.
Yeah, let's get to the series. I mean, the reality is, I would just like to wrap this up by saying quickly that we all know if a Tatum or a Brown or if a big name tests positive, they're going to delay this because they want those guys in the game. So moving on, right, to the series itself. After game one, and Bob, I'll start with you. I wasn't sure they were going to beat the Nets because I thought Durant would be too much. I wasn't sure they were going to beat the Bucks because I thought the Freak would be too much. After the game 6 win in Milwaukee, I'm a believer. The game 1 loss was embarrassing. Third quarter was awful, but I still think the Celtics can win this series.
Well, I just don't understand the third quarter in the context that where they should be at their emotional and mental and development as a unit. How they could play a third quarter like that in the context of this is baffling to me. The first half, I did remember thinking, here's what I was thinking at half. They shot 59% and only up 8. That was trouble right there. Never there's nobody on earth that could conceive of what was going to happen in the third quarter the way it did, 39-14. 7 turnovers by one guy, or 6, whatever the hell it was, Tatum, the best player on the team, having an abysmal setback game like that. I don't like that. I just don't understand how they can do that, how he can do that. I don't. I thought we were beyond that kind of crap. And you know, that, so I don't understand. They got to prove something to me now after that. That was horrible and inexcusable. There's no excuse for that kind of mental letdown. And it was a mental letdown. So I don't understand that at all. That bothers me. They got to prove a lot to me. I want to make one large overriding point. Now get off the soapbox. What the playoffs have proven time and again, and right now, and acutely, and the other series, and the other conference. Okay, there is no carryover as in general rule between game to game. None. Forget about momentum. It doesn't exist. If it ever did, all right. It's not the other side. The Mavericks have now played 4 consecutive games decided by 25 points. They won 2, they lost 2. It's a record. No one's ever played that. That's never happened in the history of the league. You look at some of the wild swings of the Celtics, the momentum shift, the shifts and tempo, whatever. The last series, you know, it doesn't exist. So they can wipe the slate clean theoretically. But I don't like that they would allow something like that to happen. I mean, listen, what's the explanation for that?
Well, listen, Jaylen Brown didn't play well in the game, period. And then you're so reliant on Tatum without Smart and Horford, and he came out and they got after him defensively. They did. They made it tough. He had no space. He made poor decision after poor decision. He reverted kind of back to almost early season Jayson Tatum a little bit. Right, not trusting his teammates, making decisions, but making them a little bit too late, where I just feel like, and he said this to me earlier this year, and I kind of laughed at it, but he did say, when we're whole, we're really good. And I wonder if that's true with the Celtics team, is like you take away a piece here, and I know they took away Rob Williams, and they were fine without Rob for the most part, but you know, you take away Smart and his toughness and Horford and his intangibles and leadership and calming demeanor and all that. I don't know, but man, you're right. Like Bob, and they look so good in the first half. So I guess, how do you explain it? You explain it from Miami's end. They came out, and I'm sure Spo jumped them at half and said, you're not playing like Miami. Like Jimmy Butler, like get up in them here. And you're about toughness, and they've been the tougher team. And they just came out and flipped it. I thought they set the tone. It's like watching the hockey playoffs, right? And a team just comes out and they're hitting and they're more aggressive. I felt like the Celtics were that in the first half, and then Miami came out and said, no, we're not having that.
Well, I've been saying all along during the whole playoffs that they're the most, in my word, reliable team of the 4 left. And that includes Golden State. I think Miami's the most reliable team. They also have a very interesting best player in that he had 41 points with no 3-point shots, 2 attempts over.
You love him.
Because you know how I feel about that, you know, and I love that. But the point is, they're not dependent, you know, unlike everybody else on whether or not the threes are going down, as long as their best player doesn't even need a damn 3. And so that's a little extra twist to the currency here in this story. So I see now that people are writing and saying, oh, it's time to take Miami seriously or games. Right. I always
was
seriously.
Yes, we all agreed there. Exactly.
And by the way, there's a wonderful piece on in the Times today about PJ Tucker, and you know,
I love him.
Oh, and you gotta, if you love basketball, if you really understand and appreciate the game, this guy should be somebody that you treasure for what he brings to the table without ever scoring a point. And he can.
I saw him.
He's still got that 3-point shot.
Bob, I saw him. I remember when I first got into covering college basketball recruiting. I remember seeing him on the AU circuit. And then it's funny, he was that undersized 6'5.5" 4-man at that time. And he goes to Texas, and I loved him because this is how he's always played. He's never changed. He was a little more, he could score a little bit better back then. And then I remember everybody that came along after him that was that undersized 4-man that played tough, he was PJ Tucker. Like, that's who you instantly compared everybody to that was undersized and played with a ticker and just got after it, was the next PJ Tucker.
I had a name. This is a name that I'm sure it hasn't been evoked in the NBA in 40 years, literally. That suddenly it dawned on me this morning when I was having my morning coffee at my favorite place. Don Adams was a 6'5" had played a power forward game for the Rockets in the 70s. Okay. And when I did a book on the NBA called the Pro Game in 1975, I used him as the example of how you can be this is when we were actually for the first time identifying quick forward, small forward versus power forward, as opposed to just forwards. And he was an anomaly at 6'5" as a power forward. So I've decided that what's happened here is that if you believe in reincarnation, that PJ Tucker, that Don Adams has been reincarnated as PJ Tucker. So there was a precursor 40 years ago, Don Adams. I don't even know if he's still alive. I have no idea. But anyway, PJ is an important piece of their puzzle, and a guy you got to respect and honor.
Before we move on to the West, I want to wrap this up by talking about Tatum, because one of the things that I find frustrating is the advancement of crowning a player. And I think that that's happened to Tatum throughout his career. I think he's always been a step behind his praise and where he's at. He continues to progress. But I heard, and this drove me crazy. I had a Bob Ryan soapbox moment, and nobody was in the car with me. Somebody said Tatum was tired. He was tired because Miami had rest. And I went, really? Michael Jordan played with 100 and whatever it was temperature. Okay, Bird played with bad backs.
That's a dumb. Whoever said that is
ridiculous. So Jeff, I'll let you take it from there. I mean, if Tatum is going to be the guy that he is, you can't have that excuse.
But it's one game. Like we were praising Trae Young in the bubble, in the play-in game this year when he went for 40 against, I forget who it was, but it was a crappy team. He went for like 45, and everybody's like, Trae Young, he's a top 5 player now. Look at him. And then the next series, he was terrible. We're prisoners of the moment, right?
Yeah.
What we could say is Jayson Tatum is a top 10 player in the NBA now. Overall.
Guys, this is such a modern, I have to say, a talk show driven now, talking head driven on television thing. It didn't exist 30 and 40 years ago. People, these kind of designations, these quick jumps to conclusions, this necessity to slot people, identify, didn't exist. So, but this is where we are. It's where we live in. So you got to, it's a runaway train.
He's a top 10 player. That's what Jayson Tatum is. He is a top 10 player in the game right now. On his best day, he can look like the best player in the NBA. On his worst day, he can look like he's not even a top 50 player. To me, on most days, Jayson Tatum is a top 5 to 10 player in the NBA.
This is a perfect segue to the other conference. Luka Doncic bleeped the bed last night. And the word begins with S.
Yeah.
Okay. This is after he was being, lionized.
Best player in the game, right? Best player in the game, Bob. Yeah. That's what they were saying.
So, that's what he looked like in the previous series. And now, and here he is, and he has a terrible game.
And we're talking about Dallas and Golden State. Golden State threw a defense at him. Wiggins did a great job, and Luka did nothing. He had a
bad night, and he's anyway. He'll bounce back. But I'm just saying, and he goes from is he the best player in the game to playing a crappy game, and they don't have enough to overcome that.
And that's the thing. That's the thing, right? Like Luka, no matter what, they can get swept in this series. To me, Luka's still done a hell of a job to get him this far. They need more help. You have to put it in context, right? Like it's not just, well, again, Jayson Tatum's got more to work with. He's got way more to work now. He needs Marcus Smart now. Horford, he's got far more to work with, in all our opinions, than Luka does. So if Luka takes him this far and they get swept, to me, I still think he's done one hell of a job. And it shows to me, Mark Cuban, you got to get him more help.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no one thought Dallas was going to be there.
Right.
I mean, I agree, Jeff, 100%.
You can't count on Spencer Dinwiddie getting 30 every night.
No, or Jalen Brunson every night doing it. I love Jalen Brunson.
Me too.
And the key here, too, is like Andrew Wiggins did a good job on him. Andrew Wiggins is one of the great, he's always been a dilemma for me. Because, I've seen him since he was 15 years old, the number one player in the country. One night he would look unbelievable. He would always play to the level of his competition.
Okay.
Okay. And he always had the ability to be an elite defender and never was. And then he gets to the league and he's putting up 20 points a game at Minnesota and they give him a max contract and he hadn't guarded anybody at that point. So then he's thinking to himself, well, why am I going to defend? If you just paid me $30 million a year for what I've done, why you're telling me I'm worth that? Why do I got to do more than that? But then he gets to Golden State, which is the ideal place for him, for anybody, right? For anybody, because what are they about? They're about the right things. Steph, Clay, say what you want about Draymond, but he is about winning. Because if he wasn't, he'd want to score 20 a night.
Right.
And he doesn't care. He could score 4 points and get 7 assists and be an elite defender and walk off the court, smile. You can criticize Draymond all you want for his big mouth. That dude is about winning first and foremost. So you put Andrew Wiggins around those guys, he's going to have to conform. He's going to have to understand defense matters, winning matters. My numbers, yeah, sure, they're important. But the biggest thing for him is he's matured. And I think he showed that last night.
Yeah, guys, the thing that I take from this series or what's happening right now is we understand Dallas is going to be out, then it's Golden State. You look at Golden State and Miami, and I'm with Bob. It's well said. A lot of people were looking past Miami. They are tough SOBs. Jimmy Butler came out and he hit Tatum right in the mouth. Bottom line. It's the old Bill Parcells thing, Giants against the Bills. Get a 15-yard penalty in the first play. They're better than us, but you know what? We're going to beat the crap out of them. And that's exactly what Bob was talking about. So what we have here is we have a Miami team and we have a Golden State team that has gravitas. They have pedigree. They have been there, Bob. That, to me, is the big thing. And I know that you love this. It's the intangibles of the game. Yes, the Celtics are the most talented, but Miami has that it factor. What are the chances the Celtics can come back and win this in your eyes?
Oh, well, they're good. I mean, we know how talented they are. We saw that in the last series. They showed us game. They played 2 elimination games on a magnificent week. So we know it's there. I just don't have as I said.
You still like Miami?
I don't. No. Well, I want to know. I'd say it's 50-50. Here's what I said. Here's my prediction. Here's what when I was asked to predict, I hate predictions. And in this case, they said, who's going to win? I said, here's what's going to happen. They're going 7. And when you get to game 7, this is what I said before game 1, all right? You get to game 7, and one team is going to make 22 threes, and the other team's going to go 4 for 33. Or ha, all right? Gee, that can't happen, right? Oh, really? And no, but whoever shoots well, whoever makes the damn threes in game 7 will win the game. I'll stay with it. Yeah. That's what this game has come to. That is what this game of basketball, the NBA has come to. It's that simple. You get to the big game and you make your threes, you don't make your threes because they're not going to stop taking them. And Milwaukee's Exhibit A, you would common sense if someone told you, 30 years ago that the team would go 4 for 33 on this newfangled thing called the 3, you say, why didn't they stop shooting? Why didn't they go for 2s? Well, nobody thinks that way anymore. You keep shooting them because that's all they seem to know. And they had, by the way, they had Milwaukee. I'm back up on the box up. Sorry, guys. They had a guy who knows how to play in a low post named Brook Lopez. Now, he's reinvented himself as a three-point shooter, but he hasn't forgotten how to play in a low post either. They could have thought
maybe he has.
He has.
That's part of the problem. Again, Al Horford, his game has completely changed over the years now, right? It used to be 15, 18. No, he doesn't take those. He's
here's the complete and total aside. I've thought about this. Do you know who was ahead of his time? Bill Laimbeer. I'll get Bill Laimbeer could make a three. He could make an outside shots, and we used to kid about him. 6'11". This is the late '80s and that. No post game, post game at all.
Never.
And we used to kid about him. When he goes home in the summer, instead of working on his post game, he works on his short game. He loved golf.
Yes.
And that wasn't a joke. It was the gospel truth. Well, he was ahead of his time. I'm sure you don't think he's not thinking about this as he's sitting there coaching in the WNBA? Oh, man, I was made for this game. This one that they're playing now was me.
Brad Sellers, Bob. Brad Sellers would have thrived today, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, who has a better chance against Golden State, Miami or Boston?
It's a good question.
Oh, good one, Gare. Good one.
Yeah,
good one, Gare.
To that, I'd kind of like Boston.
It's tough.
I kind of like Boston because I think they have a little bit more. They probably match up a little bit better. But again, Miami, you just look at them and you're like, okay, the backcourt of Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. Like you just look at it. Okay, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson against Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. Who are you taking?
Sure.
I mean, come on.
And Jordan Poole.
And Jordan Poole is the third guy.
They're in the discussion right now with the.
But there's a but here, Bob Ryan. Give me the but. What's the but?
No, I would go Celtics.
Golden State is the favorite right now. They're the favorite to win this.
Vegas, a huge favorite.
They should win it.
But we didn't say that. We thought that early in the year because they were rolling early, right? And then they went and they kind of went under the radar a little bit. What do you think Kevin Durant's going to think if Golden State cuts down the Nets again this year?
I don't care what Kevin.
Thank you. I don't care.
He's going to get crushed. I can't wait to see him on Twitter if Golden State wins because he's going to get absolutely hammered. Hey, before we move on to the draft, I know we're going draft.
Yeah,
I need to get Bob's thoughts on Patrick Beverly crushing Chris Paul because I'm watching that. I was watching that live, and I generally don't watch. I try not to watch First Take at all because my ears hurt afterwards, to be honest. I need Tylenol afterwards. But I was watching that. It was on SportsCenter at first, I think. And it was J.J. Redick, Patrick Beverly, and Mike Greenberg. And I really like Greeny a lot. I think he's really good at what he does. And I'm a huge J.J. Redick guy. I think he's the best there is right now, breaking down the NBA, being honest, and being recent. I love Chuck because he's entertaining, and that group, they're fun to watch, entertaining. J.J. Redick was just in it, and he's super smart, and he's as honest as you can be for the most part. So Patrick Beverly is killing Chris Paul, killing him. And I'm not the biggest Chris Paul guy. I will give you, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, Bob, but the story dates back to when all this stuff came out about Donald Sterling and Chris Paul was with the Clippers and I was in Vegas and Chris Paul always coaches, he runs an AU program, CP3. And he's give him credit. He's there every summer. There was this new event in Vegas where Carmelo was kind of coaching his team. There were 8 teams. They're all coached by former current NBA players. So and obviously the Donald Sterling stuff was the story at that point. I think Doc had just come out and said, I may not coach if Donald Sterling's still running the Clippers. He had just come out and maybe said that to somebody. So I go up to Chris after the game and I got my recorder there and I'm asking him about Donald Sterling first, obviously. And then I'm asking him about his involvement with his AU program. And, you know how it is. You kind of soften him up. I might have started with that. I might have started softening him up a little bit with easy questions, softball ones, then hit him with a little bit of Donald Sterling. Again, just getting his views. So after I was with ESPN at that point. After I finished, I wrote the story. Obviously, the lead is going to be everything about his comments about Donald Sterling. And the other stuff, I probably didn't even put it in the story because they were going to cut it anyway. It was irrelevant. It was irrelevant to that story. I might have written something down the road about his involvement with his AAU program, but I wasn't writing it down. So he calls me right after it's posted, all upset that I wrote it. And I'm like, dude, like you saw the phone, the recorder in front of you. You knew I was recording it. You answered all the questions about Donald Sterling. Like, what's your problem? And ever since, he has literally not looked at me like I did something wrong. And I'm like, I've just heard so much about Chris Paul over the years. Again, really good about how hard he prepares and practices, playing pickup. He's always playing like it's a playoff game. I'll give him credit for all that, but a little bit fraudulent in how he conducts himself. So I was like, when Patrick Beverly's saying this stuff, I kind of was like, all right, I kind of like this a little bit, but he went too far.
I was watching it with my daughter, and we're going, and they're saying Pat. I'm going, we don't know who it was. Yeah. I didn't know what Beverly, and the only Pat, and I just didn't think of it. The only Pat I could think of in the league at the present time is Patrick Williams. And I said, it's not Patrick Williams. He wouldn't even be in. Why would he be there? And it's not Pat. And then finally, when I learned that it was Beverly, okay, there's something going on. Like, I think it's pretty obvious that and it turns out there was something of a history between the two. Okay. Yep. There would have been a way to have a thoughtful, professional, gentle criticism, that Chris Paul has slipped, and after the games 1 and 2, he was very, very inefficient. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. The venom that was pouring out of Patrick Beverly.
Too much.
It was totally personal, yep, in my opinion. Didn't say it was inaccurate, but it was totally, but it was over the top and personal.
It was inaccurate. It was inaccurate. I mean, it was too far. If he had said, he went too far with it. And then what did he do? He did something else right after that. He hit on something else that made me say, like, all right, he has no clue. Oh, I think it was James Harden, who's his boy. And he admitted that. He said, like, that's my twin or something like that. And then he went on to say that James Harden deserves a supermax or a max contract right now. Like, come on, man. Like, no. Like, what do you, and JJ Redick looked down. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with you? So, like, I like Beverly's, lack of filter, I guess. Honesty would be the wrong word. It was
compelling television, and Greeny basically hadn't lost control. He ceded control of the show. I mean, no kidding. I think they blew through a commercial. I think they blew through a break for what I saw somewhere. I mean, he wasn't going to put the stops to it. He knows he's a veteran on top. This is incredible television. This is going to have legs. This is going to have resonance. This is going to be talked about in the world. This is good for us.
You keep Patrick Beverly. If you are a top guy assigning stuff at ESPN, are you putting Patrick Beverly on every moment you can for the rest of this?
He wound up making a car wash appearance. I think he was on yesterday morning. That he was on the morning show.
Car wash, by the way, is a thing you go on every show at ESPN.
Yeah, with ESPN, it's a nickname for you go on every show.
Guys, I want to get to the draft, and real quick though, this portion of the Ryan Goodman podcast brought to you by LinkedIn. Spring is in the air. Time for renewal and growth. LinkedIn, they got a job for you, faster and easier, and it's for free. Create a job post within minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network. 810 million people. Simple tools like screening questions. They make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find candidates that you want to talk to. All right, here's the deal. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/scribe. That's linkedin.com/scribe to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Jeff, you want to talk about, Bob wants you to talk about the upcoming draft.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to interview Jeff. All right, Jeff. Overall, how would you describe this draft in terms of A, star power, and B, overall depth in the first round?
I like it. And usually I'm the one, if you can remember, I'm the one hammering the draft a little bit. I like it. I think there's 3 guys that have a legitimate shot at being the #1 pick. They're all very different. 4 and 5 are going to be very interesting. They're similar. But, 1, 2, and 3, to me, again, Jabari Smith is 6'9", freshman out of Auburn who shoots the hell out of the ball. He's kind of that He's not Jayson Tatum because he hasn't shown he can put on the floor yet. But like he can be that down the road. I could see him as that versatile forward, but he shot so well from three, so smooth, got the size, the length, great kid, great teammate, all of that. He's the leading candidate to me for the number 1 pick. Now, Orlando has a guy that's not similar, but a little bit similar in Jonathan Isaac, but he's been hurt for 2 years.
Yeah, he hasn't played.
So what do you do there?
Okay. So for people, so Banchero, and the third person, the question is Chet Holmgren. I want to get to Banchero first. My observation of Banchero, I can see all the skill set. It's obvious. But the motor idled a lot at times, I thought. He absented himself from what was going on at times. And I don't know. Other than that, I mean, yeah, he's got the skill set on paper, but he's not a. Am I right? Do you agree with that assessment?
Bob, it wouldn't shock me if he's a 20-10 guy in the NBA.
All right.
It wouldn't shock me. He's bigger than Chris Webber. He's bigger and stronger, but he's got a similar, not the passer Chris Webber is, but he's got a little bit of that face-up game. He can go in the post and dominate. I just think, listen, think about this. If you put him in the post as a four-man and you tell Jayson Tatum, who's been in the league for 5 years right now, who's big and strong right now, go try to guard Paolo in the post. Paolo is going to take him in the post and drive him to the rim. He's that strong. He's that big. He's going to be a problem in the NBA. And to be honest, he's the one who's ready-made to make an impact now because of his body and his length, his athleticism. He's going to be a good player. I don't know if he's going to be a franchise-changing player, but I think he'll be an all-star player.
All right, now we come to the most intriguing player, not only this year, but in many years, and maybe in the entire history of the draft kind of guy, Chet Holmgren. And I'll just say that at the outset, tall people with that body type, name one that became a star. Name one that lasted in the league. He is the skinniest, tall player of consequence I have ever seen. This comes on the link on the length of the skinniest player, Brandon Ingram, that's been good in this league in many years. But he's 6'6", 6'7". This guy's 7 feet tall, weighs 195. Maybe that's bulked up. You're a fan, right?
Well, you can't not be a fan of Chet, the talent. You can't not be a fan. He's 7 feet. He can shoot threes. He can block shots. He runs the court. He plays hard. He plays with an edge. He knows he's a dork. Like, I like Chet. I do. I like Chet. I want to love Chet, but I'm scared of Chet. If I'm an NBA GM, I'm terrified of taking Chet because I'm watching the other guy, Anthony Davis, over there, and he can barely stay on the court. I'm watching Porzingis. He can barely stay on the court. And they're bigger and stronger and have more room up here to be able to add some weight than Chet. I mean, Chet's got kind of that inverted chest. You just don't see him being able to easily add weight. And if he doesn't, even though he's 7'1" and can block shots and did it at a high level, well, he did it at a high level in the WCC. There's a big difference between the WCC and trying to do in the NBA where those guys are going to drive him through the rim.
I got to read you something that it just makes me laugh. But I mean, this is in today's USA Today. And on the subject of Keegan Murray, who, by the way, I like. That's one guy that caught my eye this year. And Murray, 21, is one of the oldest projected lottery picks and could have an immediate NBA impact. Is that where we've come to, huh? Jeff Goodman and Gary Tanguay? 21 is a graybeard among the lottery picks in the 2022 draft.
Yes.
Larry was 23. Larry turned 23 on December 7th of his rookie year. Just so you know, put that in context.
Listen, before we finish with the draft, and I know we'll do it again.
Over
here these next 6 weeks. The name that I want you to pay attention to is Shaedon Sharpe. And I've mentioned him, I think, to you before.
Go ahead. Yeah, I know nothing. I'm like Sergeant Schultz, and it's not willful. I know nothing about Shaedon Sharpe. Go ahead.
6'5", 6'6". I saw him play multiple times last year in July at the Peach Jam down in Augusta. And man, did he blow me away. 6'5", 6'6", Canadian kid, super athletic, Can get to the rim, can pull up, can score. Streaky shooter, but great size. Now, the knock on him is, does he play hard all the time? I only saw him play 3 times. And all 3, he was tremendous. So I walked away saying, you know what? And I still say this, Bob. He could be the best player to come out of this draft. He'll probably go 5th. That's my guess, somewhere in that 4, 5, 6 range.
Which would be
he enrolled early at Kentucky and did not play.
Right.
But he's older. Yeah, he's older because he's Canadian. And I think if you're patient with Shaedon Sharpe and you get him around in the right franchise where they can teach him, like if you put him with Jimmy Butler or Draymond or somebody that's going to teach him work ethic and really bring him into the gym every single day, I think Shaedon Sharpe could be special.
Guys, thank you very much. Bob, do you have a final word?
I was just going to say, I don't know if Malcolm Brogdon qualifies in that regard, and even whether he'll stay with Indiana, but perhaps he could fulfill that role. He's an extremely mature guy. So, okay, well, that's good. We all need to be educated on him. Well, we're going to have further discussions down the road. I got more questions that are bubbling here, and that'll be fine. But still, we got plenty of time to do it.
All right, Bob. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next week, and hopefully, the Celtics will be able to field a team.
Yes. Very good.